So I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, there are two little islands in the Caribbean, and they joined as one country. And yeah, it was very nice growing up there. I was at school, and I had a particular interest in languages. But actually, I did it that well that I got a scholarship, and I could then do whatever I wanted to do at university. And I always had this interest in medicine. So I then decided that I would actually do medicine and not continue on with languages. And then there was the whole drama of deciding where to do it. Particularly, I remember one person was saying that yes, if you go to do medicine in the UK, there are all sorts of universities and things which would be really very good, but I would advise not going to London, going to somewhere else. Because, you know, if you go to London, you don't get to be on a real campus where you can meet various other people. I ended up going to Birmingham University because it had a campus there. And I was going to be doing a first MB because of having done languages. I couldn't go directly into medicine. I had to do a first MB. So I was then mixing with, people not from the medical school. And I think that was the point that he was trying to make. But of course, later on, people said, "What? You had the chance to go to King's and Guy's and Tommy's, and you decided not to? That was amazing." But I was really happy at Birmingham. I thought it was a great place, really. Things were very different. I mean, I had to get used to different types of foods. You know, I mean, in the Caribbean, the concept of dessert was not really on. So I sort of suddenly found I was in a place where you had your main course and then there was a dessert. And I really actually got really quite intrigued by desserts and I kind of loved getting having sponge cake and custard, which was something that I never had before. I remember that, fast forwarding a lot when I had finished and got my medical degree, and I was considering what to do, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do to be a general physician or whether I wanted to do pediatrics and so on. So I was taking a little time by doing kind of locum hospital jobs, and I ended up in a seaside town in England, and I was the kind of resident medical officer in this little hospital. It was very much a kind of cottage hospital, and your main task was actually being responsible for the people who were lying in and for doing some things during the day. And it was there actually that I met that some GPs came and said, "Oh, Terry, how are you doing? What are you doing this evening?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm not doing anything this evening, at the end of work." And I says, "Well, why don't you come with us? We're going to a little clinical meeting, and we have this clinical meeting, and then we have a meal afterwards, and we have a chat." And so that was my actually introduction to the world of general practice. Nowadays, in training, students do get a great exposure to general practice early, but in those days, we didn't have that much. So I kind of understood by hanging out with these GPs in the evening about what they were doing as GPs in this area and what their work was. But the most important thing was actually the camaraderie that they had, and I thought, if this is general practice, I think this is what I want, because I just felt that it was such a wonderful team and it was so kind of supportive that it was something that I should explore. But I just think that I was just impressed to see a group of professionals who were able to have such an easy, relaxed, but supportive arrangement or situation with one another. It wasn't something that I had come across, and it was something, therefore, that actually influenced me to consider general practice as a way of life. There's also the issue about the Caribbean culture where, people do tend to have a lot of friends or do like to get together with people and like to have a laugh or just sit around and just, have banter or share stories and so on. And so maybe there was something about that there as well. They seem to be people who, even though they were in their GP surgery, so they had a structure where they actually got together regularly and actually talked and joked about all sorts of things. And it seemed to be really a kind of a wonderful way to actually to work, but also to enjoy life.